Hey guys, it's back to Entertain, and before I get started with the review, I just kind of want to clarify, not really clarify, but kind of just tell you something. In case you're wondering why the mic quality isn't as good as it usually is, even as relatively speaking, because my mic usually uses kind of bad. It's because like for this review, I'm using a voice recorder app. I much prefer using a microphone, but frankly, like I feel like right as I'm like recording this like hours before I'm moving in at my dorm in college, and because I have like a bunch of roommates, I'm not sure like how much free time I have to like actually record voiceover for videos. So I mean, I might have some time, but I'm not sure yet. But no, so I'm trying to like record the voiceover for this review like real quick. And in order to do that, I'm just in my car, just doing like having on the voice recorder app. And to clarify something, the reason why this video took so long, I say take so long, but literally the last video was like January. So compared like other gaps between reviews, actually isn't too bad. Because like from season 4 to season 5, I was like freaking. That was like literally like about like over a year. But no, the reason why it took I had like a community post that showed that said like, hey, the review's in progress, and I'm done the slides and this, that, yada yada, and the review should come out in 2 weeks. Or I'm now starting to realize that like whenever I promise a due date for a review before it's like halfway finished, it's never gonna work out. Like I'm just letting content creators know right now. I know, like I've seen like other reviewers do it too, like where they set like a date or a deadline for the video and then just doesn't happen, so they keep pushing it back. I do it all the time, and I'd be thinking that if I do that, they would motivate me to get done faster, but it never happens. It really does. Like I do the same thing for my movies too. Like I always say, hey, it's gonna come out this date, doesn't happen. It's gonna come out this date, I have to keep pushing back. So for anyone who's like trying to do content creation, just take it from me. I mean, I'm probably not that wise on the subject matter. I only have like 132 subscribers, but no. Make sure like you have a substantial amount of the video or work done before you said a premiere date, because I make that mistake all the time. But no. So starting with this video specifically was that, so I had the slides done in May or so, and like this video is gonna come out. I thought it was gonna come out in at worst June. Like I really thought this video was gonna come out like during like June or July at worst. But then, so what happened was, actually no, this happened in May, because I remember like when this happened, I was like going through the depressive episode. So but it was back in May. I had the slides done, I had the voiceover done. Yeah, I recorded the voiceover on my new microphone. I was looking forward to it because my new microphone is pretty solid. It's much better than the one I used before. Like the one I used before, I literally just got off of Amazon, or I got it from, I think I got it from Amazon. Well, the new one actually went to Guitar Center and got it. It was like what, 50 or 60 bucks. So I was like confident it was gonna be better. But no. The only downside is that like unlike the cheaper microphone, I could like this is mostly when I'm recording music. I could like plug it in and still hear the laptop, while when I'm recording a new microphone, I have to like plug it in, but I can't hear anything, so I'd like plug it out to hear it. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So what happened was, I recorded the voiceover on my new microphone. I had the slides out. I was so close to editing. I was literally on like, I was literally like on iGoodbye. I had literally most of the review done. I had iGoodbye done. I was like almost done editing that, that episode. Like, so the review was almost done. It was like all I had to do was just edit the last episode, then add a conclusion. Then I was ready to export the video and release it that same day. So what happened was, I think I addressed this in the community post too. I'm just going to clarify here too. So my laptop, it was running out of storage, and my laptop is not that great. I'm not gonna say it's a piece of doo-doo, because I don't I pay like hefty money for it. But no, it was me and my mom and I did. It's my laptop isn't the best in the world. So like what happened was I started running out of storage, and it got to a certain point where I couldn't save it. So like this big tab just popped up saying, hey, either you can close the tab and do it later, or you can just go through the storage and start deleting some stuff. So I'm thinking, okay, I need to save my thing, so let me just go through the storage and delete some stuff. And then as I did that, for some reason, the same thing happened with this other like short film I was trying to work on too. I went through the storage, and then I was trying to delete some stuff. But then next thing you know, when I pulled up the file, like when I pulled up the iCarly season 6 file, it just got erased. Like it literally, I kept trying to pull it up, and it just said the file was not found. And that made me so I literally spent like 2 or 3 hours working on the review. That made me so livid that all my progress was just gone because of my freaking, I'm trying not to curse, but not my freaking lame computer. Like, it's just I literally spent like hours working on the review. I was that close to being done. All I had to do was just finish editing iGoodbye and the conclusion, and I would have been done the freaking video. And all that was just gone because my freaking laptop was screwing me over. So that made me so livid that I literally like rage quit. And I remember this distinctly. I literally like rage quit. I literally went for a drive because I was so angry. I just didn't want to I didn't want to lash out at anyone. I was like close to like breaking a wall or something. I was so close to like breaking something. I literally like went for a drive just out and about just to calm my nerves. Granted, it didn't help because I was like really depressed at the time, but still just like yeah, no, so like I was so close to being on the video, and I freaking rage quit because I was like that close, and then my computer just corrupted on me. And you know, honestly, like just me rage quitting right then and there made me not want to work on the video because I was just so angry. I'm like, honestly, like for me, editing is probably the least fun part of making these videos. Like voiceover is a little bit annoying because I have like a little stutter, and like every time I read up a script, I tend to stutter. But voiceover is like whatever. Editing is probably my least favorite part of, you know, doing the reviews. And for all to just go down the drain, that just it made me really irritated. I'm just like, screw this, I don't want to do this anymore. I was like really that angry that I just didn't want to work on it for months. But here we are. It's August. Like freaking what, June, July, 3 months after the fact, and I'm ready to do it now. But yeah, in case you're wondering why I promised to get out this day, but then I just didn't touch it till later on, it's because I was just so livid from the whole laptop situation that I just didn't have the energy to just like spend hours doing this, all for it to go down the drain. That was just the main thing. So I apologize for, you know, promising to get out this day and then not bring it out until later on. But yeah, no, I just that situation really angered me. Like I was literally close to breaking, like punching a wall or something, because like I spent hours editing the video, and then all of a sudden my file was just disappeared. Like I was so angry that I rage quit. So, but no, here I am back again. So here we are, gonna review the series. Also, another thing too, this is a minor point, but I mean that was the main thing. I was just so angry from the whole laptop situation. But another thing too was just like recently I've just been trying to prepare for college, really going back to college, because I graduated from community college in December, but I took a gap semester this year, so I'm going back literally a few hours from now. But no, as of recording this, so you know, I was trying to prepare for college, get some stuff sorted out. I was recording my album. Yeah, I was recording my album, so you can check it out on my other channel. I was working on my most recent short film, which came out I think last month, 2 months ago. Yeah, it came out last month. So I just been like working on my art too. Like, you know, I'm trying to, like, you know, that's another thing too. Like, I mean, I am dedicated to this review series, hence why I'm still doing it after doing it for what? Oh my god, like 7 years? Jesus Christ. But yeah, I just like I still have, like, and I'm still trying, like, you know, I still like making art in general, so I was like trying to, like, you know, focus on making my short films, my music, you know, stuff like that. So that's another thing too. I hate to say, like, my art is a bigger priority for me than, you know, these silly reviews, but that's another thing too. But anyway, sorry, back to the point. Now let's get on to every episode of iCarly season 6. Episode 85, iApril Fools. In a special April Fool's episode, Carly and Spencer are getting evicted from their apartment. This is one of 2 April Fool's episodes that the Schneiderverse has, and I might be missing one. I haven't seen all the episodes of Henry Danger or Game Shakers yet, but I know for sure that there's this one, and then the April Fool's blank episode from Victorious. It's been a hot minute since I've seen the April Fool's episode. I think I remember seeing it when it first premiered, but that's about it. Before, you know, rewatching it for this review. I'm guessing this episode is kind of like a return to form in a sense, as it seems like the writers are going back to the sketch comedy approach where stuff just kind of happens for no rhyme or reason. I think it works for this kind of episode, and I'll be honest, I was genuinely surprised with how much I enjoyed this episode. Yeah, it's good. As far as jokes, it actually has some running gags that are actually kind of funny. For example, Freddy has some sort of breakdown over not having a party bush, Gibby's running gag of slamming the stop sign at people, T-Bo in general just being dressed up like a genie, just stuff I like. One thing I really admire about this episode is the attention to detail in the flashback scenes. There are scenes where the main trio is dressed just like how they were in the first season, and it's really cool to see how production pulled it off. They can only do so much because Nathan Kress's voice changed and gotten taller, but honestly, they did pretty good. They did a pretty good job making Carly and Sam look like how they did in season 1. I can just tell that the writers had like a little more creative freedom with this, so they went all out with it, and yeah, it really paid off. Overall, this episode isn't like, 10 out of 10 or anything. I mean, it's not my top 10 favorite episodes or anything. But, overall, it's enjoyable. Episode 86, I Go One Direction. The iCarly gang meets One Direction, who, trust me, was very popular around this time. By this time, I mean, 2012, 2013. However, actually, I would say it's 2012, 2014, I would say, to give them the benefit of the doubt. However, Carly accidentally gets Harry Styles sick and eventually starts to leverage off of her. I'll be honest, for the longest time, I thought this episode was just kind of annoying, mainly because I remember the whole boy band craze from the 2010s. It's funny because when I was in 4th grade, I wasn't a big fan of One Direction, but I was actually a big fan of The Wanted. Rest in peace, Tom. Rest in peace. But yeah, I thought One Direction was kind of annoying. I thought this episode was just not so great because of that. However, since I'm no longer a spoiled 9 or 10-year-old, I'm now a depressed 21-year-old. So that's, oh, God, sorry. On its own, I find this episode to be pretty good, actually. It's not amazing. There's some things that are just kind of annoying. The gag in the beginning where Carly and Spencer return to Mexico and everyone's at their apartment is pretty funny, but maybe I'm just nitpicking here, but why is Carly sick from some made-up disease called jungle worms? I mean, she's sick to her stomach, she vomits a lot, she has chills, she might as well have the flu. I mean, I will say COVID, but, this is 2012, so we're, 8 years before the mark. Also, the ending where Sam takes Zayn with him is, I don't know, it just seems a little bit out of character for me. However, other than that, I don't have that many problems with this episode. Probably my favorite bit was Gibby replacing, quote-unquote, Harry at the end, and Harry getting all mad and saying, "Don't let him sing or dance ever again." Even the Spencer subplot ain't too shabby. Spencer hits on this blonde lady and lies to her saying he's a personal trainer, but he ends up training her daughter instead. It's overall pretty funny. But my main issue is that there's no real resolution to it. This girl just storms out of the apartment and Spencer just says, "There has to be some resolution to our story," or whatever. I get they're trying to be meta, but again, pointing out your problems does not fix them. In the end, it's a pretty decent episode. And again, I much prefer The Wanted over One Direction, so leave me alone. Episode 87. Am I still recording? Just making sure. Yeah, I'm still on. Episode 87, I Open a Restaurant. Gibby opens his own restaurant in the basement of the school. However, trouble arises when his bully named Billy starts to cause problems. Meanwhile, the Shays get robbed, so Spencer thinks of main ideas to stop burglars from coming in. This episode is just one of those few that kind of gets worse for me over time. It's not bad or anything, but it's just kind of meh. The main plot is nothing really interesting. I mean, it doesn't really make sense, to be honest. Okay, so Gibby's having a restaurant under the school. I get that, but how do people access it? Yes, he says he only invites friends of his, but the place is packed and Gibby doesn't seem like a popular guy, so how does it make any sense? Also, how do they even access the basement? There's some sort of manhole cover like this TMNT or something, or I don't get how this scenario could ever happen. I know it's a kid's show, so I shouldn't overthink it, but overthink is my main freaking job at this point, so whatever. Really, the writers just had Gibby just set up shop at some abandoned building or something, then it actually makes sense. The conflict will still be there because maybe Gibby hasn't signed a lease or something to own the building, so he's still getting in trouble. And you still have all shenanigans and Billy and whatnot, so, you could have just done that. The comedy is there. I mean, Sam beating up Billy with the bar sock was pretty alright. And I'll admit the subplot was actually pretty good. Spencer first flashes Carly with a bunch of flashlights, blinding her, and then later on, he has a popcorn kernel shooter machine that's kind of like a Gatling gun. There's some creativity and some Schneider charm there. I'll say that much. This episode isn't bad by any means. If it came on TV, I'll watch it, but after my last rewatch, I kind of just got bored and had more questions than anything else. Episode 88, iHalfoween. To commemorate the halfway point till Halloween, the iCarly game make up a holiday called Halfoween. We pretty much wear costumes just like Halloween, but instead of October, it's late April, early May, I'm guessing. So this episode is the return of Neville, since I pity the Neville, and just like that episode, it's meh. I'll be honest, I'm kind of biased because I'm honest to God sick of the writers making Freddy a punching bag at this point, but I just didn't care so much for the ending scene where Freddy's just disguised and thrown into a goodie basket. I guess it isn't the worst of his torment, but it's a lot worse than the next episode, but yeah, not a fan of it. The episode is decently funny. I like the whole deep voice gag that the iCarly trio had for most of the episode. Probably the funniest bit was Gibby being an anti-simp eating chicken wings while girls are talking to him. I don't know. I just feel like this episode just nothing is really accomplished. I know I shouldn't expect some amazing plot with iCarly, but still I feel like a lot of this episode is just kind of just there. A little off topic, but something I've noticed that this episode takes a massive backseat in the later half of the episode. The show has always been about their shenanigans, and there are some episodes like I Hired an Idiot where they do have plot lines, in the later half of the show, but really it just seems like the web show doesn't really matter at this point, which is kind of unfortunate. The episode isn't really bad or anything. I'd say it's a fair watch. It's funny seeing Carly fall in Neville's plan by somebody just getting rid of his bodyguard. Also, I love how one of his bodyguards is named Yvonne, because, it sounds like my name. But otherwise, yeah, this episode is just meh. Episode 89, iPear Story. I said Pear Story. iPear Store. Freddy gets the job at the Pear Store, but eventually Sam gets the job too and causes problems. Meanwhile, Gibby is trying to get a phone case from the dude that was actually in the dreaded study arc, so that's fun, I guess. Meanwhile, Spencer is trying to make amends with the fire station because they've quote-unquote run out of calls, if you will. Meanwhile, Carly is trying to get a date with his nerd. Yeah, 5, 4, 3, too bad. I'll just be frank and just say I've never liked this episode. Similar to... my mouth is getting dry. Similarly to a lot of modern day Schneider stuff, honestly a lot of Nick stuff around this time now that I think about it, there's just this very nasty tone to it that's just disguised by a laugh track. When you get older, you can just see right through it. To start from the least bad subplots, the Gibby one is just alright, I guess. There's nothing much to it, it's just the dude that he's talking to is very paranoid, and he sweats like a pig, and it's just blah 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 blah. It's kind of one ear after the other. I will admit the ending scene where Gibby doesn't have the money and just runs away is actually kind of funny, but overall the subplot is just meh. I could appreciate how this actually feels like a rivalry again and not some one-sided bullying from Sam, but God, the storyline is awful. In fact, let me get this out of the way. One thing that is a consistent problem with Dish Schneider sitcoms is that I feel like the characters don't ever actually grow in these sitcoms. I get it. It's all about comedy. It's not supposed to be story-driven, but it just feels like at this point in the series where the characters kind of feel like creatively stalemate. Sam and Freddy have dated and should have more respect for each other. Why are we still getting this childish stuff where they still just outright don't like each other? Even the fact that season 6 and they're still at the same school, even though I thought it was junior high, it's just stuff like that. Just like, why can't these characters just grow, to be better characters? I just don't understand it. And it doesn't happen with most of these shows. Swear to God. Ironically, a lot of Disney Channel sitcoms have the opposite problem, where the characters accomplish way too much and grow so quickly in time they have that the audience doesn't really feel the struggle of their journey, but I digress. I'll get back to the Sam and Freddy plot, but I gotta talk about the other two subplots as well. Okay, so Carly hits on this nerdy dude, and which I'm guessing is refreshing that she's not hitting on generic skinny white guy number 98. Yes, there is jealousy there, I don't care. But then later on when she takes him to her place, she undresses and basically becomes very seductive. I just don't get it. Was his nerd thing all an act? Is this how thinks he should act? I don't understand it. You can't just write this stuff without any foreshadowing or anything like that. I'm not giving any context. Character traits aren't something you just pull out of a hat every few minutes. Blah. Also, Piker Rule said in his review, I completely agree with it. The scene with Carly and this dude comes off as very sexual assaulty if it weren't for the laugh track. Like, he straight up just kept chasing her, asking for a kiss, which just doesn't look that great, not gonna lie. The Spencer subplot is just mean. So he started a fire, and apparently he called him over 18 times over the years. The firemen are just nasty to him, and it's not funny, it's just cruel. One of them pushes him to the ground, the more of them are just very rude to him later on. I get it, they don't like it, but just tone it down. It's another ending that doesn't really get properly resolved either. Spencer starts a fire in the fire department. I'm guessing they escaped. We see Spencer at the end. We aren't sure how because he broke the door, so yeah, I guess he killed them all. One job, Riders, one job. And then he says, yeah, we're on our own. And it's just like, this is incompetent writing. This is not good. And then the Sam and Freddy subplot, I gotta say this, oh my God, I absolutely despise Natalie, the boss of the Pear Store. She has a smug look on her face the entire episode. She's just cruel to Freddy for no reason. She outright favors Sam. It's just annoying because Freddy blatantly gives her a good reason why Sam's not suited for the job, but he's once again the emotional punching bag. The show. So Sam is not only hired, but eventually she becomes a supervisor, which understandably gets Freddy upset. So he gets fired, and right afterwards she quits. It's like, so what was the point? Like, did Sam take the job just to get back at Freddy? I don't get this. This is just lack of caring at this point. I hate this writing so much. Oh my God. Honestly, the more I say all this, the more I realize this is just a straight up awful episode. I mean, there are a few jokes I like. Some of the exchanges with Gibby are pretty funny. Spencer breaking the dude's phone was pretty funny. And as someone who works at retail, Freddy getting annoyed by customers was way too relatable. However, this episode has got to be one of the worst episodes of the entire show. Episode 90, iBattle Chip. Spencer gets bullied by Chuck's little brother Chip after he puts Chuck into military school. Meanwhile, Gibby has this phaser he gets from a convention that ends up breaking, but Freddy fixes it and turns it into a real laser gun. It's really funny watching this episode live because I didn't even need to look at some trivia page to know like Chuck wasn't in this episode. I was a big fan of Pair of Kings, on Disney XD when I was younger, so I knew that Ryan Ochoa or Ochoa, or whatever his freaking last name is, was doing his thing at that show. So yeah, it makes sense why Chuck isn't here. It also would work as well because Ryan Ochoa was getting taller and he's getting older, and his voice gotten deeper, so his character wouldn't work as well. It's not like Neville where his personality just kind of works no matter how old he is. The point of Chuck's character is that, he's hard-headed, but he's very young, so that's that. But anyway, I digress. Before I go on, I should get this one thing that's always bothered me about this episode out of the way. I think the web show in this episode is just representative of how little they actually care for it at this point in the series. It doesn't last for too long, but they don't even do, literally when the web show starts, they don't even do like the I'm Carly, I'm Sam, this is iCarly bit. They just jump straight to it. They say, okay, it's okay, next to iCarly, da 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 da. It just speaks volumes how much they just did not care for the web show aspect at this point, and how the writers were just more focused on getting them into wacky and annoyingly stupid shenanigans. I honestly prefer the more when episodes before just outright didn't mention it rather than have this where the web show is there but just literally amounting to nothing. It's just really, really, ugh. Another thing, too, that kind of bothers me is that I don't like how this ship character just supposedly has this high-tech gear as well, just like Neville. It's funny for Neville because he's a nerd like Freddy, but it just doesn't sit well with me when it seems like half the characters in this freaking universe have some high-tech stuff to hijack the web show. Am I overthinking it? I probably am, but still a minor gripe. However, despite all of that, I think this episode's pretty good. I think the chip character is actually pretty funny. I also like the subplot as well with the iCarly gang and the phaser. I also like the scene where Sam actually sticks up for the nerdy kid and beats up the bully. Probably my favorite bit was Gibby shooting a hole through the door with his phaser and then doing it again right after Spencer fixed the door. I thought that part was pretty funny. The episode isn't amazing or anything. It has its problems, but it works for what it is. Episode 91, iShock America. The iCarly gang go to New York to be guest stars in the Jimmy Fallon show. However, they get into huge trouble when Gibby's pants fall down and show his junk. Of course, not literally because this is a kid's show, but still. Speaking of Gibby, I want to delve in his character real quick. I forgot to mention this in the Season 4 video, but basically around this time and onwards, Gibby, of course, became a mainstay, and they got rid of the whole gag with him in the shirt. It's really interesting because I feel like around this time Noah Monk started wearing more dress casual kind of clothes, like tucked in bomb downs and khakis, and nothing wrong with that. But I kind of wonder if it was an active choice by the wardrobe department or he actively dressed like that all the time. I only make this point because it reminds me a lot of when I was in middle school and high school, where I kind of dressed the same way because I was very insecure and self-conscious about my body image. And sorry, this is going way too long anyway. The one thing that bugs me about this episode's story is the one major hole in it that I just don't get. So it's established that Gibby lost his luggage in the plane. I get that. And I get that, his underwear was in his luggage too. But I get that his underwear was in his luggage too. But wasn't Gibby wearing underwear from the start? Why didn't he just keep the underwear he had on from the start? That little detail that they forgot just messed up the logic with this episode. Was there a line that said Gibby had no underwear on when he got there, or am I missing something? If there was, I apologize for this point, but what's with the season's fetish for having men go commando? I don't get it. The same thing with the last episode. It's weird. And as far as other things I don't like, the whole bit with Carly vomiting in people's hat, the whole bit with Carly vomiting in Questlove's hat is not really funny, especially with Sam, quote-unquote, dissecting the vomit, was just, ugh. I'm glad it didn't show up, but come on, guys. If you're gonna do toilet humor, at least do it with some tact. There's this part in the beginning where Gibby and this blonde lady that Spencer's on a date with had this thing for each other. And considering the fact that Gibby is in high school, I'm not sure he's 18 yet. It's kind of weird. They did a similar thing with Drake and what's her name and Drake and Josh's driver's license, but at least you can kind of understand why she thought Drake was in college. They literally sees Gibby with the iCarly gang, who are clearly in school. So yeah, that's. Yeah. However, everything else I rather enjoyed. Yeah, it's a pretty good episode. It's not my favorite special ever. I think I slightly prefer I Star a Fan War and I Quit iCarly over it. It's probably on the same level as I Go to Japan, where it's good but not great. I think what I just like about the episode is just the change of environment. There were a lot of good gags here, like Spencer starting a fire in the shower, him slamming into the biker, him sliding into the restaurant, having the discount Seinfeld theme in the background. Freddy getting mad at Gibby over the pickle. There's just a lot of good jokes that really elevate the episode in spite of his gaping plot holes and other minor issues. So in general, I like this episode a fair bit. Episode 92, I Get Banned. Tiba gets banned from the Shane's apartment because he goes there without their permission. Meanwhile, Freddy and Gibby start a band only to impress girls. First, I want to address the fact that for some reason this episode is edited on Paramount Plus. The scene where Spencer runs out to his room in the middle of the night after Carly bans Tebow is cut down. I think I have an inkling why. At one point, Tebow calls Spencer on the phone and says, "Man, your sister can be a real butt," and then cuts off. I don't know, maybe the quasi swear was enough to cut the scene down. I don't know. I think it's kind of dumb because I thought that was pretty funny, but whatever. But I'm going to get straight to the point. I actually think this episode is really, really funny. Like, it is genuinely one of the funniest episodes of the entire show. I really don't know why, because even at its best episodes, this season the last two aren't anywhere near as funny as the best episodes of the first three, but so many jokes this episode land. From Tebow shooting a lemon launcher at Carly's date, to Tebow outright banning Carly from a groovy smoothie and having the skunk spray, to Freddie and Gibby's pathetic plan of faking they're in the band just to get girls, to both scenes where Freddie and Gibby are practicing their song are just really funny. Hey, there's even a joke that I feel like shouldn't work, but actually kind of does. There's a part where Gibby corrects Freddie as he says during, like Freddie says as during, and Gibby kind of roasts him for that. And I feel like I should be bothered by it, but no, I think the way that Freddie, or I guess Nathan Kress, corrects himself is what sells the joke for me. Even Sam is really funny in this episode, with her getting Freddie and Freddie and Gibby a gig at the groovy smoothie. You know, it's not even done maliciously. She's just messing with them because they had the great idea, stupid idea of faking a binge just to get girls. Yeah, this episode's really, really good. Like, genuinely, maybe one of my favorites in the whole show. Definitely one of my favorites in the back half of the show. I don't even care that it actually does make sense for Carly to be mad at Tebow. Carly has every right to not want Tebow to just barge in her home uninvited, because it is kind of weird just crashing someone's place unannounced. But honestly, because not only do we know that Mrs. Benson is really annoying in several episodes, but the comedy works so well that you can honestly just buy it. I'm sorry, I'm genuinely taken aback by how funny this episode is. I just do not buy that Dan Schneider and Jake Farrell wrote this. This has to be George Doty, or George Dottie, I don't know how to say his last name, George Doty the Fourth, like the writer from Drake and Josh. Like, this is genuinely that funny. Episode 93, I Find Spencer Friends. Spencer's birthday is coming up, and the Carly gang have to find him some friends at his age. Alright, I'm just going to get right to the point. In my opinion, this is absolutely the worst episode of the entire show. 5, 4, 3 to bed. No, I'm not kidding. This isn't hyperbole. This is worse than I Hate Sam's Boyfriend. This is worse than I Stake Out. This is worse than I Meet Fred even. This is worse than I Move Out. This is worse than I Do. This is worse than the entire SETI arc. This is, without a doubt in my mind, the absolute worst episode of the entire show. There is absolutely nothing in this episode that I like. It's almost as if they take everything I hate about previous bad episodes and encapsulate it into one. I mean, so serious. People doing nothing wrong end up getting punished, just like I Look Alike. There is no real resolution, like plenty of modern Day Schneider episodes. The comedy tries way too hard and consistently falls flat, like I Meet Fred, I Do, etc. The episode in general is just very nasty, like I Stake Out, I Hate Sam's Boyfriend, I Sell Panties, a lot of bad episodes, really. And to top it all off, they flanderize Spencer to an obnoxious degree. They even have a guest star who is literally there for no reason. I just hate this episode. It sucks because the last episode is one of my favorites, so what the heck happened? Firstly, the way Spencer is written is just horrible. Yes, the point of his character is that he's immature, he's a man-child, but why, oh why did they make him so painfully juvenile? Spencer is still an adult who asks out girls, goes on dates, and has responsibilities. For him to be acting like this is just awful. There's no other way to put it. The iCarly gang going to different places to get Spencer's friends should be fun to watch, but I'm sorry, what kills the episode is that these guys are just regular dudes who act like how adults should be acting, and they're somehow punished in the end. Why? If these writers, or writer, I guess, just made them just a little bit more unlikable, then this could have worked. But no, we get this fucking garbage piece of shit episode. There's also this quote-unquote subplot, if you will, with Gibby where he's a bathroom attendant, and it's just dumb. This is filler. None of it is funny, and never seen a restaurant in my entire fucking life that has a men's room attendant, so why is this fucking show big? Sorry. Then they have this guest star, Emma Stone, and while I like Emma Stone, literally, why is she here? There's literally no reason for her to be here whatsoever. I'm literally dumbfounded. Did she contact Dish Schneider and ask to be in an episode? What was the point of having her here? She literally just shows up at the restaurant, gets selfies with them, and then gets kicked out. Like, fuck you, Gwen Stacy, and fuck you, writers, for making Amazing Spider-Man 2 a lot worse than it really needs to be. Got it, great, good. And then once again, there's no real resolution to any of this. Spencer doesn't find any friends his own age, and then they have this Jamaican laser tag at the end. So thanks, Hacks. Thanks for reminding me that there's literally nothing. No, I'm done. Next episode, please. Episode 94, iRescue Carly. Sam reunites with her old friend from juvie named Dana, and she and Carly are invited to this house party. However, Sam skips it. Carly and eventually Freddie and Gibby go to the party in which they end up getting trapped. This episode is kind of like an inverse I reunite with Missy. This time with Sam's friend instead of Carly's friend. Instead of Missy just moving around the area, is Dana getting out of juvie. And just like that episode, I'm not really a big fan of it. I don't know which one I like or dislike. I mean, both are meh. I don't know which one I prefer more because I like the action at the end of this one, while I Reunite with Missy was just kind of boring the whole way through. And this one doesn't have any moments that are like outright frustrating, like the one joke completely failing because of his inaccuracy, and Carly just, saying she only needs one best friend, completely disregarding Freddie, like, I Reunite with Missy. However, this episode is just kind of like a wasted opportunity. Yeah, it's meh, but it's not really a far from 5, 4, 3, 2 bad episode. I'm not expecting like a whole 5-minute action scene or anything, but I mean, they have this setup where Carly has to Sam has to kind of face her past and face a crowd she's associated with just like rescue her friends. So make more out of it. I like how they incorporate a subplot with Spencer and the night vision goggles to the main story. I'll give them that. But just in general, I don't really care for most of the episode. Also for the first half, Carly's just really annoying this episode. She acts a very similar way she does in I Reunite with Missy, where she's kind of oblivious to this thing around her, and I didn't like it then, I don't like it here. The episode isn't bad or anything. I do like how they intertwine the subplot with the main plot, because that almost never happens. And then actually in the end is pretty nice. But there's some funny jokes here and there, like Gibby just randomly being shirtless on the couch, and Sam blinding Spencer Tebow with their goggles. So there's some funny jokes there that elevated, but in general, I'm just not a big fan of it. Episode 95. I lost my head in Vegas. Sam's mom gets arrested in Vegas, so it's up to the iCarly crew to pawn stuff so they can have the money to bail her out. So I like the idea of this episode, the idea that they have to raise money by selling stuff. This episode, however, in general, is just kind of like in one ear, out the other for me. Which is fine on its own, but it's not so fine when Gibby is just beyond annoying this episode. One pet peeve of mine is when dumb characters, goes out of their way to extend the duration of the situation. Just him selling his pants in the moonrock bit at the end. Just Gibby selling his pants and then the whole moonrock bit at the end. It's just like, why did they dumb down Gibby so much, and why did it take so long? I was honestly debating on whether this episode is bad or not, because honestly, I mean, yeah, it's nothing too offensive, but at the same time, it's just like I didn't really enjoy it either. But in general, I think it's just meh. I wouldn't really want to watch it again, but I do like the idea of it. It's just the execution isn't that great. There aren't a whole ton of jokes I like either. The parts with Chum Lee are funny, even though they don't exactly age well. And the part where phrase iPear breaks down as he sells is pretty funny. The rest is just alright. I don't really have much to say about this episode. It's just kind of boring, but it's not that bad. I like the concept, so yeah. Episode 6. I Bust a Thief. Sam loses her laptop, so she goes to great lengths to find it. Alright, let me get the positive out of the way first. Okay, there are a few funny jokes, like Sam crashing into Frey's apartment, and there's some other funny jokes here and there, I guess, but just in general, this episode is just really meandering. Honestly, knowing how this company is, I'm surprised that they actually had Sam lose something meaningful like a laptop, not something like a toothbrush. But honestly, this episode just doesn't have much to it. So for the most part, it's kind of boring, but the last two seasons are where it goes. The last two scenes are where it goes from meh to 5, 4, 3, 2 bad. So they crash to this old lady's apartment, right? This lady, I understand, she's very upset that they broke into her house because they thought that this lady was the one that had her phone. But the fact that she just randomly attacks Freddie and Gibby, it's just like, come on. I'm sorry, but this whole gender pain double standard that the Shadowverse consistently has just gets annoying really fast. Either had none of them get hurt, or had the lady call the cops or something. I'm sorry, I'm biased because I'm absolutely sick of Freddie being the Megward the Wizard of the show, because he didn't do anything with Freddie's situation, so why is he getting punished? I just hate this freaking, oh my god, the writing in these freaking shows are just nasty as heck. Sorry. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I cannot stress this enough. I hate this masochist BS that the show always does, especially in later seasons. It gets annoying. No, I should take that back, because I Meet Fred was really nasty too, and that was in season 2. Sorry, anyway. The ending is really stupid too. Apparently Sam's laptop was in some pizza box in the freezer. I'm guessing it was supposed to be like some like WTF kind of joke, but instead I'm just flicking my wrist because I'm like, wow, thanks for wasting my freaking time, freaking hacks. The episode isn't god awful or anything. I could probably name at least 10 bad episodes worse than this, but yeah, it sucks. Episode 97. iGoodbye. Yeah, we're at the finish line. Yippee. Carly wants to go to the military father-daughter dance, but she thinks her dad ain't gonna show up. Eventually he does, and they go, but then he asks Carly to move to Italy with her as he's about to be stationed there. Honestly, I consider doing a scene-by-scene breakdown of this, kind of like what I did for iPilot. However, this episode is double length, and I don't know, I feel like I'll be here forever. I will point out the major events in the episode and how I feel about them. Firstly, in the first half, Gibby and Freddy are at the mall, and Gibby's trying to have another new unfunny copy of his head since he sold his in Vegas. I'll be frank and just say that the subplot is probably the worst part of this episode. I never liked the whole Gibby head gag, nor do I know anyone who actually does, so to dedicate a whole plot over and getting another one is just really wasting my time. To be fair, I think part of it is because they were setting up a Gibby spinoff, which actually had a plot made, but ultimately wasn't picked up. Instead, we got Sam and Cat, Sam and Cat was made, and to be honest, either reality wouldn't have been good because I don't think a Gibby show would have been that good, and I think Sam and Cat is dog shit. So whatever, I guess it's a lose-lose situation, really. Meanwhile, Spencer's trying to find a choke knot for his motorcycle. He asks Sam for help, and she ends up getting one for this guy named Michelito, who's played by the lovely and not so cancelable at all Dan Schneider. Anyways, meanwhile, Carly gets excited for his for this father-daughter dance. She wants. Oh my God! This is why I hate voiceover. Jesus Christ! All right. Meanwhile, Carly gets excited for his father-daughter dance, and she wanted to go with. Oh my God! She wanted to go with Spencer's dad, but he was unable to. So she was going to go with Spencer, but he ends up getting sick by Luber. Yada yada yada. Now thinking about it, I feel like this episode. Now thinking about it, I feel like this episode is just a better version of iPear story in the sense that there's a lot going on, but it doesn't feel like everyone is just meandering. There's actually a purpose to everything that's going on. Granted, I think it's because they double length, but even just the first half, oh my God, I cannot speak. Granted, I think it's just because of the double length, but even that, I enjoyed the first half a heck of a lot more than iPear Storm. It's funny because the episode calls back to the first episode where they mentioned Mrs. Briggs' pointy boobs, and I much find it funnier when it's just a quick gag and not them literally making their freaking plot point. God, I'm sorry, I'll probably forever be the minority when I say this, but I just do not like the pilot episode. I never have and never will. The writing isn't that sharp, the characters are annoying, the acting isn't that great. What do you want me to say? Christ. Anyways, the second half of the episode, Colonel Shea does come and takes Carly to the father-daughter dance. Eventually, he has this idea of taking Carly to Italy with him, and Carly eventually agrees to do it. That means, Carly is moving out, and that means no more iCarly. Alright, so the back half is the final web show. At least the final web show before, the nostalgia pandering Pythol freaking revival in 2021. Ugh. And Carly just says her goodbyes to everyone. Fun fact, I remember seeing this episode live, which was, 12 years ago. Oh my God, I feel old. And I was bawling my eyes out towards the end. Just seeing the show finally come to an end was just crazy to my fourth grader mind. We get one more kiss of Carly and Freddy, you fuck me revival, and we get one more scene with Spencer, one group scene where they hug it out, one last scene with Sam, etc. At the end, the last few minutes is kind of like a celebration of the show we come to know by playing clips of previous web shows. And then the show finally ends. Oh yeah, Sam drives away with that motorcycle, presumably heading towards a god-awful spinoff, so that's that. But yeah, honestly, I quite like iGoodbye a lot. It's a good episode. In fact, for a long time, it was my personal favorite because of just how emotional I was when I first saw it. Yeah, as far as actual quality, now I don't think it's in my top 5 best episodes, to be honest. I mean, it does have some stupid stuff like the useless Gibby and Freddy subplot, but in general, this episode holds a dear place in my heart, and I'll never forget it. And that is every episode of iCarly Season 6 reviewed. Let's look at the stats. 6 good episodes, 4 meh episodes, and 3 5-4-3-2 bad episodes. So as the final season of iCarly, does the show end on a good note, a meh note, or a bad note? I honestly thought it would succumb to a lot of the same writing problems that Season 5 has, and to an extent it does, but in general, I think it is improvement from Season 5. However, with that said, I think in general, Season 6 is just meh. Factors like, the web show barely being a factor anymore, the fact that 2 of the worst episodes are easily in the bottom 5 of the entire series. I didn't mention this earlier, but the freaking laugh track has played way too much in this season, and I don't know, while I do think the good episodes are pretty solid, there's still something that's kind of missing in the first 3 seasons, that's not here. In general, I still find Season 1, 2, and obviously 3 better than 6, and to be honest, I probably go back and watch Season 4, but I probably would prefer Season 4 over Season 6, which isn't saying much, because I think Season 4 is probably the worst one of the first 4, so, even though I was pretty harsh on Season 1 and Season 2, especially Season 1, I feel like in general, just the first 3 seasons has some kind of charm that just wasn't in the last few seasons. So, with that said, I'm Ev here at Aaron's Hand, and hope you have a good day.